Hello everybody and welcome back to Inventor the Gamer. Today we have this thing. Story time. When I was but a wee young lad, in the before the YouTube channel times, I stumbled upon this wonderful place known as the IT guy's office. And in my adventures in said office, I stumbled upon this absolute unit. The second I saw it, I knew I had to build in it. Of course. And so I did. I made the most cobbled together PC I possibly could have. It worked somehow. I wanted to take it home, as most would after building a computer, but I was not allowed, as the parents weren't quite fully on board with the PC hobby yet. So I let it stay. I let it sit for years. This was back in like 7th grade or something. So it's been, like 5 years this has sat. Until today, when I finally got to take it home. Why did I get to take it home, you may ask? Because I'm gonna build something else in it. But first, before we build things in it, let's review exactly what the heck I did to it before. Because it is like a disgrace. After taking off the very cumbersome panel, which happens to cover both sides, we're left with this mess. Now the keen-eyed among you, especially now that I'm showing you, may notice, wow, there aren't very many screws in there. And you'd be right. There aren't. Why, you may ask? Because when I built this, I used any screws that I found laying around. And maybe 2 of them actually fit this case. The rest are kind of just jammed in here. Now we can't have that for a server build, can we? So, we are going to rip this out, and instead, we're gonna put in this. Now, this isn't that much newer, but it does have a better CPU and has more things that I like. Now, you guys may notice this looks an awful lot like the board you pulled out of your gaming PC, and that's because it is. It's got that same 6th Gen i7 in it, same DDR4 slots. Yes, very gaming right here. So we're gonna set this off to the side. And we're gonna see what else I did to this thing. Now I'm sure it would be very smart to get a new power supply because of how old this is. But I've decided no. No, we're gonna run this Thermaltake TR2 430W. This 430 watt power supply that I'm fairly certain is older than I am. Why? Because I'm cheap, and we are doing this on the most budget of budgets. So, we're gonna pull this out. So, without further ado, let's rip out this old board. Now, to pull out this board, you would think, remove all these cables, unscrew from here while still in the case, and pull it up, right? Wrong. Well, part of it's right. part that you are correct about is we are going to unplug everything. Move all the cables out of the way. And then a nifty feature about this case that I really like is, if you flip around to the back, you'll notice that this tray that holds the motherboard in is actually removable. And all of these screws are fairly loose. And now we can just, without too much difficulty, slide our motherboard right out. Well, that makes things easier. Now that our whole tray is out, we can begin unscrewing our board. Now, before we put in our new board, we're going to make sure all these standoffs that are still here will line up. That one will. Corner one's missing. These two on the bottom will. And we have one more to play with, which I will put right in this bottom corner here. Because I don't have any extra standoffs, it'll be fine like that. It won't matter. It's fine. So let's find some motherboard screws and get this mounted. I knew I kept all these screws for a reason. This is definitely not enough. You'll see this end of the board flexes quite a bit, which means we're gonna try not to touch it that much. Now we can add in our RAM. So notice we have two 8GB sticks and two 4GB sticks. Alright, now that our RAM is installed, right here, we can put this board back in the case. Alright, now that we have our board in, we can start plugging things in. You can see I've already started plugging in the power cables. Now you notice, as before, this board right here does not have a standard power connector. This is a standard power connector. So I have a way to remedy that. Behold, the sketchy adapter from Amazon. All you have to do for this guy is you take your standard power and you plug it right in. Just like that. Completely safe. And now you just throw this in the bottom of the case and take your now non-standard connector and plug it right in. That's not going anywhere. Now we gotta plug in our front panel, as which we have these. Now this doesn't have a standard front panel either, nor does it tell you what any of these pins go to. So we're gonna find that out real quick. After some searching, I found this image. We will see if it is true. According to this, power switch is 9 and 11, which would be these two right down here. This is weird. It has two power switch leads and a reset switch lead. So I don't know which one it is. We're just gonna guess. And I'm gonna guess this one. Might as well hook up our LEDs. So you have hard drive LED, supposedly goes up here, like so. Power LED, 5 and 7. This power LED. I'm gonna need jumpers for this. I have acquired jumpers. And we're just gonna guess which way it goes, because I don't know which one it is. Alright, looks like we have enough things plugged in to see if it works. Plug in the obligatory connectors. I have DisplayPort, because this board does not have HDMI. Get our ye old Lenovo keyboard. We don't need a mouse for right now. And of course, the way overkill power cable. Good luck, little buddy. Right? 3, 2, 1. Please don't blow up. We have LED, which implies that I wired one thing correctly. We do not yet have display. Also, welcome to the show, the Hyundai monitor, because we have that. We have output. Here's, we've detected the processor. Nothing on those. That's just because there isn't those fans do not exist. We have boot. Well, not quite. We have power. Well, let's see if we wired our power button correctly. Yes, we did. Nice. Alright, I suppose now is as good a time as any to explain what exactly I'm planning on doing with this thing. Now, if you read the title, it is going to be a server of sorts, but not just any server. No, 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 no. This is going to be a self-hosted streaming service, if you will. I will be running a service called Jellyfin on it, which is pretty easy on hardware and can run on the integrated graphics because I don't have a GPU for it yet. And it can run with not a ton of storage because I don't have a ton of storage. See, I have what it came with. So that's going to be this 80 gigabyte hard drive from 2006. It's older than I am. 500 gigs. And another 500 gigs out of a laptop. Speedy fast, I know. But that is only for right now. I do have hard drives in the works. I just need to acquire them, which I could not do today. But, well, I scheduled shooting for today, and today's when we're doing it. So, hi there. The keen among you will notice this looks different. There's drives in here, and wiring and things. Well, that would be because all of 2 days after filming, I've acquired more drives that have higher capacity than what I had. So we're just going to replace them and not show the original because I don't want to. So without further ado, we're going to pretend this is the first time we're putting drives in this thing. But first we're going to pull all these old ones out. That one just fell. I'm sure that's good for it. This guy, unplug. Unplug again. Pull this bottom one. Right here. This wouldn't have done us much good anyway. It's only 80 gigs, and for what we're doing with it, it's not enough. This one isn't enough either. 500 gigs. You think that's a lot of storage, right? Wrong. For movie storage? No. I have stored not that many movies on this, and it is already almost full, so. Hence, new drives. Also, you'll realize I have an SSD in here now, because booting from that is way faster than trying to boot from this. Got Yield Mushkin drive. We know this drive on my channel. Don't worry, it's no longer in my main PC. Right, so we're gonna mount this guy up with one screw because secure right there. So I have two nearly identical Seagate hard drives, both of which are a nice 2,000 gigabytes or 2 terabytes. So that is what we're going to use for our main bulk storage. And goes one. Hold that in with only 2 screws, as is tradition. And the second one, held in by also only 2 screws, as is tradition. Okay, now there is one last thing we have to do. Because I've already stored movies on this 500 gig drive, I do have to move all of that to the 2 terabytes that I just put in. So I'm going to do that off camera because it's going to A, take forever, and B, really boring. Alright, now that that's done and we have our hard drives in, there are 2 more things that I do want to do. Number 1, I'm going to add this 120mm fan right in the disk drive bay because it's just about the right size. So you're going to run the cable through. It's just going to lay in there for right now, but I do have a part coming that will fix that, but that will be later. I know I'm about to add a disk drive in the following segment. Instead of going in here, where the fan is now, it's just kind of going to rest on top. Alright, now this last thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adjust this fan. It's kind of sitting right about here. Perfect. And then this case used to go to a voicemail system in my school. As we can see, it no longer does that. So we're just gonna pull these labels that are likely older than I am right off of here. There we go. Perfect. And now on with the original segment. Before we get too much further into here, there are a couple modifications I do want to make. Such as, you'll notice there's a spot right down here for a fan. And I would like to put a fan in there because this singular fan and this cooler aren't going to be providing that much cooling. So we're going to figure out how to get this front panel off. Poke it with a screwdriver. That's how. Awesome. That's our front panel. Well, now I can't get a very good shot of this just because of how monstrously huge this thing is. But you see, there's a spot for a fan right here. And out of the old Think Center, I stole this. Just an 80mm fan, which looks like it should fit perfectly right here. So we're gonna get that installed. It's in. You'll notice it's not on this side, since it's on the inside instead. Held on by only 2 screws, as is tradition. And that is because, with how this front panel is, it wouldn't actually be drawing in any air from the other side. In fact, this whole part of the panel is solid. The intake, right here on the bottom, and also this little cutout here. That's our front intake right there. That's all solid. Got our floppy drive bay, as is tradition, which we will not be using. We'll be putting a hard drive in there instead. Of course, DVD drive bays. So, yeah, that is why. Now that our front panel is back on, we can put in the few hard drives we have. And an extra little thing. I somehow have another one of these. Well, the place I was getting them from had 3 of them, so welcome back, another Dell. And what we're stealing from this one is right up here. Ooh, I found something. An Intel SSD. See how much? What's that? 256 gigs. You know what? I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that. I like that. That's mine now. Anyway, to get what we're really here for, give this side. Actually, no, that side doesn't even need it. Now, push down, yank out the front. And we now have a DVD drive. Perfect. There's one more thing I need to pull out of here. That other case is missing a few rear I/O shields. So, we're gonna steal these ones. I'm going to be pulling like all this out of the case in a future video. Stay tuned for that one. I don't know when it's coming. Later, because it is going to be a very big, expensive project. Grab our stolen I/O shields. Now you see they won't fit initially because they have this little tab right here. Now I have a remedy to that. It's called pliers. So we're just gonna grab onto the little tab like so, and just bend it up and out of the way. That for this one as well. Perfect. Now, just screw them right in. Alright, one rather uneventful Windows and Jellyfin install later. Here we have it. My new media server. All up and running. So there it is. My completed media server for all of those legally acquired movies. Just shows how easy it is to build one of these things when you have an abundance of parts. It's weird, I said I wouldn't build another computer, but here we are. I had parts and time, so we have another. That will be all for today, and I will see you in the next one.